So one of the aspects that I would like to talk about is the sacred area and the components which we find in the worship. So onset of the activity, all the places are cleared up, and all the surroundings are cleared up, and you can't enter the sacred area with your footwear on. So it's a form of respect. It's a form of humility that you have to show to the god. The sacred area generally it consists of several wooden posts, either in the form of a singular form or in the form of multiple rows, or as a stand-alone section. So, which is often accompanied by animal terracotta figurines like horses, or we also have santias, you know, the small lamp, which we all know, and salki, which is the cover of the diya. And where they also use coconuts as a form of a sacred embodiment, or as a form of a sacred god goods. So when we look into the sacred ingredients used by the ritual expert, they constitute the newly harvested rice, grain from the field, the sacrificial animals like chicken and goats, and also the mahua liquor, the very famous, which we all know, and also the key for the tiyas. So if the key is not available, then they use the oil extracted from sesame seeds. Also, the mustard seeds and peanuts are used as a form of oil. The size of the terracotta horses offering depends on the capacity of the giver. So the size is not limited to the number of amounts that they give, or the number of size that they give. I mean, it depends on what kind of prayers you have to offer, how important your prayer is to God, or you know, like how much wealthy you are. So it depends on all these factors. When we look into the erection of the wooden poles, the change of the poles is a 9 days affair, so it's a long affair. The first and the 8 days are spent in preparing the earthen diyas and the salki. And they also do a monetary collection throughout the whole community. And they also spend some time on preparing the tree if they have to erect a new wooden post. The 9th day is left specifically for the erection of the posts. The ritual expert is called the Baroa. So the spectrum of knowledge he has on nature, or the expertise that he has on how he can communicate with the nature, or what kind of readings he has to do, or what kind of what kind of readings that the nature shows to him is so amazing. I mean, I was surprised on how, you know, he could be able to tell about, I mean, he's like a fortune teller. So he, you know, so he could explain about whether there will be a famine, or whether, you know, there would be a drought, whether there would be the wellness of the community as such was being able to be explained by him through his knowledge. So there is a study done by Alice where she says that in one of the, I shouldn't call it trance, but then in one of the period that he goes into it, it causes his head to shake and his voice to give advice, right? And his body to dance in a way which is associated with certain traditional, you know, the personages. And on occasion to climb through a tree, or to a tree branch, and you know, which is in the field. So to change the wooden poles, it takes around 150 to 200 years. However, in Ambala village, the borough was approached by the new generation before the stipulated time, and saying that, hey, you know, it's time that we should be aware about how it is done. So I think even before the year have come to us, I mean, we should be able to learn, and we should be given a chance to learn how to do the whole process. So there is no specific time period on when they can change the wooden poles. If we look into the design and symbols in the poles in George village, all the animals are very decorated with colorful colors, which emphasize on the required stripes, on the required pattern, giving it a very naturalistic outlook. The wooden poles is painted in red color, green and white, and the wooden poles is also engraved with a symbol of sun, moon, dots, serpentine line, and geometric patterns. It's the things that they see around themselves, which are reflected in the bows. The name of the god in some of the plays, especially in George, I mean, I come across this board which says Sogadev, right? At the name of the god itself. However, in Katia, the wooden bows have, as I've given in the picture, the wooden bows have 9 sides, which with multiple engravings or circles of U's and V's and leaves and floral motifs. However, when I try to inquire about whether it is symbolic to them, I mean, they say that it's just about what they see and what they are reflected through. They don't have a specific symbolic meaning as such to them. When we look into animal sacrifices and how it all brings the whole community together, the sacrifices of the chicken and the goats are made once or twice a year, and the weapons used for the sacrifice, before the sacrifice, they are to be sanctified. And all the animals are supposed to be well fed before the sacrifice itself. Both the sacrifice, the animal is taken to the side where they have this fire set up, and the lung and the livers are charcoal there, and when after they have been charcoal, they bring it to the place where they are again to be offered to the god. So it's the blood and also the organs of the animals that has to be sacrificed, right? So the remaining meat is then cut into smaller pieces, and they are cooked, and they are collected in a thick leaves, which is again distributed to the whole community. So one interesting aspect which I noticed is that it's only the male members who come and participate there. So we see a boy of as young as 3 years old, and the expert and the elders who all partake in it. So there is, to some extent, a kind of we feeling that has been kind of given through this both erection. The picture is, I mean, as you can see, is where they all come together, and then they sit according to the age in line. It's a beautiful picture. When we look into the case study from Ambala village, according to the oral tradition, the chain of events that are followed in the village, so you have a certain chain of events. So before the erection of the wooden bowls, Ambala worship area consisted of only a tree which they worship. And after that, the first layer of the wooden post erection was done. And after that, it was followed by a denier of a renowned ritual expert, where he did his role. And after that, so it's a cycle of 200 to 250 years. When we look into the order and sacredness of these practices, on deeper examination, we can find 5 certificates. The first is that on the Vidhi Batalna, which is in simple terms, it's the changing of the wooden bowls. So after that, we have the Gaudev, where this god is specifically for the cows in the village. So if they lift up the stone, and then if they pour the milk to the 3 liters of milk, and if the volume of the milk remain constant, then it says that we will have a successful year where all the cattle in the field will be able to to support us as it should be. But then if the level decreases, then something ill fate impending doom is it's there for the whole community. We also have Baba Tandua and Aitunvi, which is for in determining the sex of your child. So for a male child, you have to do something different, and for the female child, you also have to do something different, right? So you also have a specific area, meant just for this. We also have Baba Ramdev, where it is said that the first person, I think he is, I mean, if I'm not mistaken, I think he is regarded as the most supreme being. So since he's the first person, the oldest ancestor that they could trace back to, in the form of a monkey, right? And also we have we also have the fifth certificate where you only offer the coconut, and you also have five dilak, which represents the five elements of earth. So you have, so the whole sacred area is divided into certain sections like that, meant specifically for certain specific, the purpose. And with two adherents and with sacred adherents, everything has to go according to plan like that. When we look into the woman participation in this practice, the women as a ritualist, is a devout, is a rare phenomenon. I mean, I haven't been told that it has ever been happened, so it's very rare. There is a role, however, on the woman. She's the one who prepared the mahua wine. The virgins of the village, the unmarried lady themselves in the village, the other one who cleans the rice, right? So every section of the community has been given a certain kind of role to play in the practice system. And all these are important because without the proper role, I mean, the whole wellness of the community is at question. I wanted to spend some time on the process of transculturation. So when I say transculturation, we normally confuse it with acculturation, which is actually not the way to go about. So transculturation is a process which is sort of characterized by imitation. Also, it is also a process of assimilation, of hybridization, or of reinterpretation, right? So when we look into the wooden bowls erection or the sacred codes which to use, one of the findings which I did, which I found was that on the fluctuation of all the, the use of the wooden, the use of the terracotta figurines of Gora, which is found at as a form of aesthetic purpose. So that space have been negotiated throughout, and there is there is a need for multiple research that can be that can be gone into on how this process take place. And it is also a common factor because when you don't have available resources, you also tend to find out means on how to go about things, right? So another magistral transformation is the replacement of the wooden bowls with stone erection. And one of the reasons why it is because it is longer than, I mean, it lasts longer than the wood. The stone bowls is circular, unlike the wooden bowls, and the engravings which are found there are less pronounced as compared to the wooden bowls. The motifs observed in the wooden bowls are not replicated here. And however, the application of the tilak and the adherence of the values towards the bowls remain constant. So one of my respondents says very cleverly and very wisely, and he says, our Ratwa community does not believe in other gods. I find this statement very mesmerizing because I think it summarizes the whole aspect of the study. Our forefathers have been following the religion for a very long time. This is everything for us, and there is no need to believe in any other god. For us, the Dev Tanak, the place of the worship, all the practices is the only life that we have. And for our new generation, this is the only answer to our well-being. So to conclude, the values, the belief system, and the philosophy which is associated with the wooden bowls, or as John Bowles' erection, it reflects an embodiment, or it reflects an embodiment of cultural ethos of both the specialist and the follower. Wooden bowls erection among the Bhil echoes the past history, their relationship with nature, and the ethos on which they conduct their life. The cultural values and attitude associated, it reverberates as an organic culture that is derivative of the given environment, which is otherwise fastly transforming. Thank you so much.